Okay, so what are we doing today? Envelopes, creative envelopes. All right, let me. So if you want, we can make these envelopes on loose sheets. Just bring together some drawing paper. If you don't have drawing paper, just even printer paper is fine, and we can work with whatever tools we have. So on printer paper, watercolor might not really work because it warps the paper a bit, but then you can bring out your color pencils, maybe even markers or something, and yeah, brush pens, sketch pens, that kind of stuff, and we'll try and make those designs. I'll just get my papers. So technically envelopes, one second. Yeah, if you look at the history of envelopes, commercially made envelopes were not available or not made uh, well into the 1800s. And till then, envelopes were, well, letters themselves were folded into what might be an envelope, and they were sealed and then they were sent. So that wax seal was all there was to seal the envelope. And then it was quite an interesting technology where you had to emboss the wax with your own seal, which could be the with your ring, or there could be an additional metal seal which you press into the wax, and the hot wax would then seal those two ends of the paper together. And the only way to open it was to crack that wax. You could not heat it again. There are ways which people would try to use a knife to open it, but if you did open it, you could not reseal without melting the wax again, and then you lost the embossing. So very interesting ways in which envelopes have been, well, not envelopes, enveloping of letters has been done in the past. Um, so if you think about it like that, and then you figure out that what we need is just a sheet around your letter or your card, you can come up with any kind of fold which can be sealed, and you can put anything inside it and send it out. So I want you to think about all the ways that you can fold a paper and make it difficult or sealable, and then I guess you could send it out as an envelope. So I'm going to show you two envelopes. One I remember, the other one I remember as we go along. So I'm going to show you this, but yeah, I guess we'll just fold it together and then we'll open it out and make the design on it. Okay. So for this one, this is our A4 size sheet. Usually the letter fold would be about so much. So say if this is my paper, even if I fold it in three, all right. So what I was getting at was, normally this is our letter, and you would fold it in threes. So you would fold it one way. Now, this is also something that people won't know or may forget, that usually you would fold a paper in three in such a manner that you can see the date, who it's written to, that's on top, and the rest of it is hidden. That's normally how you would fold a letter. And then your envelope should obviously cover this. Now, in our case, we are going to fold the paper or the letter differently. And it doesn't matter that you don't have this paper. I just want you to see how the dimensions can be measured. So if this is how we fold the paper, or even fold it in three parts, or this would be the size of an A6 card, and you want to put it in an envelope. So you place it in such a way that you have a little more space on top and a little less space at the bottom. But together, this space should be a little more than the card space. So if you measure this, and this is very important because you make the envelope and then it doesn't fit the card. That happens all the time. So just measure it. If this is where you're going to keep the envelope, and you do this just one time. In all probability, our letter and or card and envelope size is going to be the same. Okay, so an A5 or an A4 card for an A6, A4 paper for an A6 card might not be sufficient. So we have to manipulate our card size.
Ma'am, just give me 1 moment. I'll be right back.
Yeah.
You want it to work if you turn it around? Like portrait?
Well, no, see, the thing is, mathematically, it's the same dimensions, whichever way you do it. It won't work because,
okay.
see, it's, I mean, this way, yeah, it might work, but then the sides are not sufficient.
Yeah.
But we can give it a shot. So I normally try to keep it smaller so that it fits, not this small maybe, but just for now, if you know how much space we need to make a proper full envelope, it helps. So I have done this so many times that I've made an A6 card and I've made the envelope both look very beautiful, but they don't fit. And it's just a painful exercise then. So keep your card smaller than A6. And all you need to do is, now you don't need precise measurements, but just generally, I like to keep some sense of equal distribution around. So we need less space at the bottom, more space on the top, because you want the top fold to overlap the bottom. Now, the total of these two spaces must be more than the card that you're putting in. So my advice would be make the envelope first and then make the card. Okay. Now what you do is just measure with your fingers how much space you have on side. So you're not doing something like this, too much space on one or the other side. And this is usually enough. And fold from both sides, but leave a little extra space here. So it doesn't have to come too tight. Leave some space because you need some room for the letter inside or the thickness to be accommodated. If it's too tight from both sides, then it doesn't sit really well. So about 1 centimeter or so doesn't hurt. Same thing from the other side. And already you can see that the two flaps are not really equal, but it doesn't matter because it's going to get sealed. Just make sure that the edges are straight. Huh?
They shouldn't overlap, right, Aditi?
No, don't overlap them. It becomes too complicated. So there is a gap between the two flaps. And the same thing we repeat from the bottom and the top. But from the bottom, we need, yeah.
I wanted to ask a question. The paper you placed in the middle, is that supposed to represent the card? Or,
Yes. Card or letter or whatever.
Okay.
But you don't need it, Rida. It's okay. You don't
Okay.
have to have it. I just want you to see this because you should know what are the factors to keep in mind. For now, just use a paper, imagine a card in the center, and fold two flaps with a gap in the middle. That's all you need.
Okay.
Okay. Now from the bottom at about 2 inches or so, you can fold. Now remember to fold this. Don't open it and fold it. Don't do it this way. You need the flaps also to fold at the same point, because then what's going to happen is you're going to get these two things sticking out. We need that accommodation in the paper. This won't happen. And the thicker the paper, the more these little papers will stick out, just because when you're folding paper, the inside or two papers, the inside folds maybe a millimeter or so smaller, and the outside will go around it. Okay. Now this is going to be our cover. So again, leave a little room over here, and you'll notice that now we get exactly the same amount of overlap as we have reduced this over here. That's not important. So we need about at least a centimeter or 2 centimeters of an overlap. Now, having these folds precisely one on top of the other is very important. So always match these edges when you're folding. Okay, so this is our envelope. And now the best part is you can take these two bottoms flaps and insert just the top without opening that flap. The whole thing into the bottom flap like this. And this envelope will seal itself. So it's a self-sealing envelope. And the folds become more and more embedded over time. So if you are going to keep maybe a letter for yourself somewhere, you can always use an envelope like this, because unlike those flaps which can open pretty easily, this one, without having to use glue, it seals and stays well. So now it comes to decorating the envelope. This is again a very nice part. You can open the paper completely and decorate the entire envelope and then reseal it. So in this case, if you notice, the places that the design is going to be visible is going to be only in this section. So you don't even need to make anything in the corners, because that hides. From the outside, only the central panel is visible. Yeah. But when you open it, these sections are also visible. Now, often what happens when you have something like that in paper, you have two dimensions. You have the top, you have the back, you have the inside, and all of this can be used to design as a base for your design. You could start off with writing the name and address of the person over here, because that's what will be seen first. Here you can write your name and address. And then as they open the flap, you can write other things here as well. You can write a message over here. You could write something else over here, other than what you're sending them in the envelope. So always think about all the stuff that you can do on all the surfaces as those surfaces reveal themselves. Okay? Is the fold clear? Yeah?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Any questions on this? Nothing? Okay, great. Okay, now the second fold, I'm gonna have to wing this one. anything. Don't do anything, huh? I just want to see if this is how we have to do it. Yes, okay. Let's try. If I make a mistake, then we'll see. So here now I'm going to mark. I'm not folding it through. Normally in origami, you would make all these folds, but I'm just going to mark the center of the longer side with a pinch. And now in this case, if you want to, you can use a scale because we have to fold this right in the center. So you might not be able to visualize the center here. So you can use a scale and at 148, draw with a pencil, or you can pinch both sides. Hold the scale, you don't even have to draw anything. So you know where the center lies more or less. And then fold from the opposite corners. You have this side and then from the other side, so that the two edges match. Okay? Everyone with me? All right. Now, this flap over here, we need to bring this edge to match this edge over here. So fold this in half. Like that. This is not overlapping, remember, it's not overlapping. The edges are touching each other, but no overlap. So you have to be very precise about these folds. So all you need to do is match the edge over here and automatically everything will fold properly. Okay? This is where we are at. All right? Now keep it like this. Keep this rhombus shape like this because these directions all make a difference. Now we have a triangle on top and a triangle at the bottom, right? More or less. So we have a tip on the right and we have this tip on the bottom left. Now we are going to fold our envelope vertically like that so that this tip enters over here inside. You fold it till that tip goes inside this flap. The edges are matched and you press down. And then you do the exact same thing on the other side where you will fold this. Remember, you will have this edge. It won't be a rectangle through and through. And here again, you can seal this by inserting into the opposite nook. Remember, thicker the paper, the more musty you will have to do with these holes. But no glue, no cutting. Just take whatever paper is handy and you can make both these self-sealing envelopes. Now, of course, these are not tamper-proof. That's a different matter altogether. But now you can seal this with a nice sticker or maybe your stamp, a logo or something like that. I have my logo. Is there something somewhere over here? I don't know where it is.
Aditi ma'am, just a suggestion. Can you record creating of these two envelopes, maybe you can put it on YouTube only. So only the creation of these envelopes. So we could save, I mean, because generally we forget, but if we have it, maybe at times, we can just quickly see that video and create the envelopes.
Sure. I think that's a great idea. I'll do that. So yeah, I can put something like this. Or even over here. Okay. All right. Now, as far as decoration is concerned, we can decorate them anyhow we want to. Now, in this case, keep the right side open for a stamp. And you can decorate the rest of your envelope as a theme, which you can find inspiration in the stamp and do, or you can just create your own design as well. If you don't have to write an address, that's fine. Then you can decorate it anyhow and you send it across. If you have to write your address, remember that we need to leave a space for the address to be visible. And around that, we can do whatever we want. Now, I normally, as you all know, I write the name very fancy, but the last name, I try to keep it simple because I want to find somewhere a compromise between the postman or the courier's intelligence and my freedom of design or ability. That okay, name, if you don't get it, at least the last name you can ask, and address I won't mess with, but I will not compromise all the way. I am going to write the name the way I want to write. So again, it's a matter of cleverly dividing space. We often get very excited with designing and illustrating that we forget that the address can also be rather big. So first, always write the address, at least in pencil. And if you're going to make a design that is going to sometimes be superimposed by the address, which is fine, you should at least know how much space you need to leave for that. And as far as possible, try to keep the address clear. Our postmen are really good. Courier people are dumbasses. They don't know, they don't take as much pain as the postman does. Postmen love the envelopes. I have it on record from the local postman. I've asked him, I don't want to make your life more difficult, but is it difficult to read the envelopes? Because I participate in so many envelope exchanges. By default, now they know that those envelopes that they can't read come to me. So they just bring them, the very decorative envelopes. But also one of them said, actually, these envelopes are the few envelopes we can enjoy watching also, seeing them. So we thoroughly enjoy when we have to receive your envelopes and bring them to you. So they are really good. My courier guy point blank said, Madam, koi pad nahi sakta hai. Please stop writing these like that. Then I started changing how I wrote the addresses. All right. So now one thing that I enjoy about envelopes is that if you can make folds like these, you can pretty much constantly be making different designs on envelopes. Like we made those gift boxes, and I still have all the gift boxes that I've ever made. I don't know why I make them. I don't give them to anyone. I don't give any gifts also. But the envelopes are also the same thing. You can do everything from just making simple stripes in a pretty color to very elaborate designs also. Whenever you have time, take a sheet of paper and just start designing envelopes. And one way to make sure that you don't have to worry about what address you need to put, just design around the periphery. Like we have gift envelopes. So you can leave all the space in the center for big addresses also, and you can decide later how you want to design them. All right, so let's start off with something simple. Here we go. Pens out. Okay, flowers and birds and things are some of the easiest that we can do, right? So let's try making something like just poppies. So I'm going to, now that you know how to distribute your designs, remember that you can place some big flowers, maybe one, two big flowers over here, and then one over here, and then little flowers and leaves and whatnot all around. So I'm starting off with just a few dots and pollen in the center, and then making some petals. Here, if you want, you can add a little fold. And maybe a, for a change, a larger fold on the flowers so that they don't look very boring, juvenile. Now, another variation of this could be the sideways petal. And you have some of these pollen sticking out. And maybe just a bud. So I'm using very loose lines over here because I want to make uh, the hero of this illustration is going to be the watercolor part. So another thing to remember is depending upon what you are illustrating, not everything has to be given the kind of importance that we normally do for an illustration. Here, remember that this is just an embellishment. This is not the main part of the envelope. It is the text that's going to come over here. It could be the name of the person, or it could be like I sometimes keep my kids' photographs in one envelope. I could just write kids' photographs. And this has to just support everything else. We could also throw in some sprigs of something like a lavender, just to add to the composition. Now remember, every time I'm doing this, I'm thinking about what colors I'm going to put in. So I'm working with a red flower, red and orange flower, and pairing that with a mauve or a purple design of lavender flowers. So don't uh, don't thoughtlessly make it. Think about the impact your design is going to have on the overall look. Now, remember, we have these flaps also on the side. So this is fine once you folded it. But what's happening on the back? This is looking rather boring. So we can make two things here. If you've got some rough sheet, take the time to create a nice And I definitely recommend a rough sheet. Papers that you've used for something else that you don't have any use for now. Like some old designs that remain. Take a small piece of this and create your floral design over here as well. And make a sticker out of it. I love these little stickers. They make it look like I'm living in a cartoon world. Okay, now knowing where the sticker is going to come, you can then design the rest of the envelope. So keeping this here, you can then mark just the center of the remaining flowers. In a regular envelope, if you're going to send this out, you need to leave room for your address also. So don't fill up the whole thing. And whenever you have to make something in watercolor, try to keep your lines also very watery. You know what I mean? Don't make them too firm. Keep them fun. And this over here. So you could have your name or your address written just in this part, and that's fine. Excuse me. Now comes the painting bit. All right, so with a loose design like this, our colors can also be fairly um, loose and easy flowing. And paint this in layers. Now, if these are poppies, remember that the centers of poppies are often a dark color. But see, this is just a suggestion. You can always have your own imaginary flowers as well. So I'm using a mix of orange and scarlet, and I'm painting my flowers with relative casual strokes. I'm not sticking to the lines per se, and I'm also leaving a few areas within the flowers blank for them to look like highlights. So keep your brush, try to not paint like this, because if you paint like that, this is very nice for painting within the lines. But if you keep your hand loose, hold the brush a little far away, and just make these strokes, then the flowers or the brush strokes can be a lot more organic. The paint then can, in some places it'll be more concentrated, in some places it'll be just a swish of color, and that often looks very interesting, especially because we're doing watercolor. You can make the second layer just as the first layer is drying. So throw in a wet on wet shade of some, maybe a crimson. Crimson and orange make for a very nice combination. Remember, the second layer, you should paint something else or something less. Paint along the edges, because that often looks like a three-dimensional shadow. And of course, don't forget our little sticker. Maybe I can recommend that you can cut the sticker after you've painted it. I just was very hasty, impatient, I guess. Because this is what happens. The paper is going to warp and the paint is going to dry uneven. And some places, if you want to, you can take a little bit of ultramarine blue and drop it in a few places. You could take another color if you want. You can also take things like gold and silver paint, and you can drop it and let that merge. We hardly use any gold paint, but that's also very lovely. Now for the lavender, you can do a combination of things. I often like to bring in a little bit of blue, because there are often these blue flowers also. Not necessarily lavender, but I don't know what these flowers are called. But the blue looks very nice along with red as well. And then once in a while, you can throw in that ultramarine in just the bottom layers to bring depth. See, keep it very casual. And the green color that I will use with this will not be just a flat sap green. I will put a little bit of an ultramarine blue to keep the color a nice deep green, but a little muted as well. And you can paint these leaves with a little bit of brush manipulation. And please allow for some color.
Aditi, can you just repeat the green? I just missed my network was playing up.
Yeah, it is sap green and ultramarine blue.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Is that Ritu again? Her network seems to be terrible today. And Alka is gone completely.
I think she sent a message on the group.
Oh, okay. Okay, okay. Cool. How's everyone doing? No question.
I'm inking it. I had done a pencil sketch before.
Pencil sketch? Rida? Come
Sorry.
on. Why? You don't need it. Now you're a published illustrator. You don't need pencil.
It's engraved in my head that I have to use kind of like a pencil so I don't kind of mess up. I don't know
There is
why.
no messing up in art, especially this. I mean, the mess itself is good. So
Yeah.
you shouldn't try to not use pencil as far as possible, at least for things like these. Then, of course, when you have to do something very specific, very measured, then pencil is fine.
Aditi, the lavender flowers are only ultramarine blue, or have you some other color also?
Sorry.
I said these flowers, the lavender, is it only ultramarine blue or have you used some other color as well?
No. In fact, it's largely cerulean. And just the
Okay,
few
okay.
spots are ultramarine.
Okay.
So here's something that maybe we've not encountered yet, but there's this often with colors or depicting colors in nature, or even with objects, we have a range of a particular shade of color that is seen. So, for example, if you have flowers or leaves, you have lighter colors which have highlights, and then you have darker colors which have shadows, and somewhere in between, we have the true color of that object. Now, depending upon how much light there is and how much shade there is, you can have quite a lot of fun with color. You don't really need to use the true color of an object in more than just the shadows sometimes. So say, for example, it's a bottle, like a green bottle. Much of it is going to be highlight. So it's going to be a lighter, maybe just a grayish tone, then a lighter green. And only in the dark shadows would you use the dark green bottle shape. So something like this lavender flower, when you see it in sunlight, you will only see it highlight. So only the lighter sections are visible and they're a different color altogether. They are not that lavender color at all. And I found that if you can distill the information like that, don't look at something as its generic color, but look at it as the color that you see. Then you realize that most of that object you will paint light in a different shade altogether, and then you will put in the deeper colors, which would be the true color that you would expect.
I'll just get some more.
Now, the other kind of creative envelopes you can have can all be, I mean, you can do all sorts of fun things with the envelope. Sometimes you want to make it more fun, you could take the inside of the envelope and fill that up with a lot of artwork also, like maybe doodle art, or even paste some stuff if you want to make a nice collage inside, and then just have a small bit of it on the outside. That almost seems like a waste of all the exercise, but that surprise element is really nice. The one that some illustrations that I really like involve birds, and I've made some bird envelopes somewhere. I don't think they're over here. Somehow that bird illustration makes, at least I like how it looks. Let me see if I have that reference. Okay, so here maybe we can try using a pigeon, since pigeons were carriers and they were used to send letters. You can draw the pigeon on the letter as if it is carrying your message to someone else. Let's try.
Or you can like doodle a pigeon and label it as like the sticker kind of.
Yeah, you could paste that also on top. Many people now in urban areas don't like pigeons, but I quite like them. They're very intelligent. Though
they just poop around everywhere.
Yeah, though I think people think that they're very dumb, but I think nobody can compare to humans in dumbness. Okay. So we'll draw a simplified pigeon again. Let's not make it too complicated. Now, I often use a photo reference, but I mean, you can choose whatever, even an illustration is fine. So the proportions of a pigeon are, you can draw a teardrop shape like this, and then an oval on top, and then a small beak. So this is how I'm going to make mine. A straight back teardrop shape like so. And then just the head. A beak. The tail. And I don't even bother with scientifically accurate feet. I would just make a shape like that and be done with it. Maybe we can make a very comical big eye like this. And then it's very characteristic colors. And maybe give it some texture over here.
Aditi, you can draw in your sleep also, no?
I suspect I might be already drawing in my sleep.
Like
But
you
no, I'm looking at the picture of a pigeon, so it's not as if I'm drawing this from imagination. No, no.
I thought you'd be able to do that as well.
Well, I can draw some bird, but it might not look like a pigeon. It helps to have some reference image, of course. Now, to this, if you want, you can also embellish it and make it look like this pigeon is uh, maybe one of those, not what they called aeronauts. Aeronauts, I think, people who used to fly in smaller planes with those big glasses and all. You can draw it that way. And another thing you can do is put the address in maybe a block in the mouth of the pigeon. So this looks like the envelope. And then we can draw the usual stuff around the pigeon also. Sorry. Maybe some more flowers. But this time the traffic will change and it will look more suitable to the style of illustration that we've used for the pigeon. Keep coming and going. Okay, now for this one, I would suggest maybe painting the backdrop also a little bit. So using some nice light colors, we can paint the backdrop. But as far as possible, I would suggest that whenever you are painting the backdrop also, don't paint it by the edge. Leave a little bit like that, a light edge around. So it doesn't look like your painting just stops at the edge. That makes it look more like a print. And a hand painted design ought to be able to do these things without too much trouble. So you should enjoy that bit. See, what happens with printing is that they cannot print these edges which have very little color. I mean, you can do anything you want in digital printing, but still printing has its limitations. So you might as well enjoy the bits that we can do because of human effort and go beyond these edges, which would have been the limits of the print. And again, since we are using watercolor, you can also exercise these rights of colors merging into each other. This playfulness is something that only watercolor enjoys. So you might as well have fun with it. Now I've left the pigeon untouched because I want the pigeon to stand out more. If your paper is getting warped, let it be. Don't try to correct anything right now. All of it will get sorted in time. Now here, instead of making leaves green, I'm going to just stick to the blue theme. Because I don't want to bring in too many colors. Now here is a problem that I've seen many people face. There's a bit of a puddle over here where the colors are merging, but they're not really doing anything to the painting. You can pick this up by just using the brush. Wipe the brush, but keep it damp. And then pick up the paint very gently. Don't press the brush over there. And do not press your rag onto that area because that just makes a big splat. Now for the pigeon, we have to put in that light color first. So we can change the colors to suit our design. And I'm making a mixture of cobalt blue and cerulean blue over here for the wing. This is the base color. And a cobalt blue for the head, but I'm going to go back into this later and make more details into it. The tail feathers can be cobalt blue as well. So while I wait for this to dry, I think the earlier one has dried quite well. Now I can fold it. This is how it's going to look. I think I'll write my daughter's address now. Oh, 1 second. Speak of the devil. Just hang on, please. Sorry. My daughter called, and I thought always first thought is panic. Why is she calling? She's just been out 4 days. So to answer, but let me see what her address is.
So is she doing studies there, Aditi?
Yeah, she's at Jindal now. She's studying film.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So this is a younger one.
yeah, this is the younger one.
Okay.
Very nice campus.
So I thought Bombay is more for filmmaking and all. So you had to go all the way to Delhi.
We checked out in Bombay. We asked a few people that there's only one place that I know of, that Whistling Woods place. That's like a college. The other places, I don't know what courses they have. This one was a little more formal. And she wants to study further in film also. So she did not want to do a short course, after which then she can't join another college till she has another degree. So she said, I want to do a degree in film and then I can go for further studies elsewhere. So I didn't find anything else that was that had these qualifications.
Mhm.
But it's nice. The college is so good.
Jindals are actually very good, but
Hannah, it looked wonderful.
yeah, because they have something near Bangalore for sports people also.
Oh, okay. I felt like joining the college myself.
They are training children to, move towards the Olympics.
Okay, very nice. I'm glad there are such places coming up. We desperately need it. Waiting for the government to do anything is a waste of time. Right. So this is my strategy. This the postman does not need to know. And then I can write the address niche.
Aditi, what was the number brush that you used for writing earlier?
7.
7.
Yeah.
Wow.
Is it Sonipat or Sonepat? And I've written Path also. My God.
Sonipat.
N-I, is it?
Yeah.
But
It's
they
N-I.
spell it Sonepat.
Okay. So N-E-P-A. This is going to be a test envelope that it should reach her.
It was very pretty.
I hope
So
it
you like it.
reaches. I hope so. Oh, she also writes very nicely. So,
Oh,
yeah. Both of them have no,
All in the family.
no. It's she writes very well, but she thinks it's not any good. And I keep telling her that's not how it is. But no, they don't believe me. And they have never been in any class of mine, even when I was teaching in their school.
okay.
So I think this is like one of those things that I remember for sure. This one, Arya, she used to believe that all mothers can do art because it's like one of those things she just assumed that everyone has a mouth and they can eat, everyone has 2 hands and they can draw, and of which, since my mother draws and paints, all mothers do it. So that's this girl. I wish she would continue to believe that, because it's more her self-belief, and she thinks that she's not as good as me or her older sister. And I have to keep telling her that that kind of comparison is just so unfair to
Wow.
yourself. Very debilitating. Okay, so yeah, this is the finished dress. Now a stamp will come somewhere over here. So part of my flowers are going to be missing and my own address will come here and I will seal this with the flower. So when you have a sticker like that, you can't even tell that it's a sticker firstly, or where the design ends. It all just looks very nice. This is what will go to her. Oops. And the pigeon, I think pigeon also I can send to her. This still has to finish. So here, I will make these parts deeper. And I think parts of the feathers also, these also become slightly deeper. And I normally just do these brush strokes instead of making a flat line. And some, I think at the tail, the reference image, maybe just one over here. Unfortunately, the tail is not going to be visible. So the other details that you can do, of course, are things like shadows, a painted texture along this, just along the eye maybe. Maybe you can also do things like these. I love making these painted textures. And then that's how our envelope will look. I think I should could make my pigeon a little further. So what I'm going to suggest to all of you is after you've done this, notice how a few things happen here. When you fold drawing paper, on the folds, because of the crease, there is excess deposit of color, and that sometimes looks like quite an eyesore in a beautiful illustration. So once you have this ready, all your envelopes made on this paper will definitely have the same dimensions. So this part you can measure out on another sheet of paper, maybe even a cover, like a printer paper. You can mark the dimensions, and now you know how to use tracing paper. You can mark the folds out that you have. 1, 2, 3. This is your general area of operation. 4, 5. So this becomes the center of the paper, and your artwork needs to be somewhere over here. So you just make these dots, or in fact, you can even cut this up if you want to, but you still need the reference of the edges of the paper. So yeah, cutting will not help. But you can make slits over here and then use a pencil to place this and just mark through the slits, so you know where the boundaries of the front of your envelope are going to be. And then you can paint the design first and then make the fold. Now, as far as this envelope is concerned, your address can be a little tricky to write because the two edges are on a diagonal. So in this case, you could just make an address sticker or something like this, your return address, and seal the letter with the address itself. Now, in order for the receiver to be able to enjoy the letter fully, I'm going to recommend whenever you use a seal or a sticker, just put 2 dots of glue on 2 sides and place it like that. So, worst case scenario, your sticker will be cut in the middle. But if you make this whole, if you paste this whole thing with glue, and then you do it like that, you don't need everything to stick like it. It is not going to move till Armageddon. Utna nahi glue lagta hai. Just use 2 dots and place it like this, and you should be done. So when the receiver has to open it, they would probably just tear part of your address, which is fine. And the rest of the envelope does not get damaged. So even in this case, when I will paste it, I would just put 1 dot on this side, 1 dot on this side, and seal it like that. Nobody is interested. Nobody wants to open our letters. There is something, I read an article in economics called trust deficit. The amount of resources we'll end up using because we just don't trust each other is crazy. Everything is sealed and double sealed and bubble wrapped and then put in a big box, and this receipt and that receipt, and tamper-proof packaging and everything. And for all you know, there would be 1 in a 10,000 chance of pilferage, of stealing, yet everybody continues to do that. I would say just allow that 1 in a 10% to take whatever they want to, because the rest of it is all landing up in the landfills. It makes absolutely no sense. So every little thing that we do counts. So at least as far as we are concerned, since we're going through all this effort and we can control how much glue we're going to use, 2 dots, that's it. Don't use any more. All right. So next month is all about sea life. We'll be doing different kinds of sea life. If you have any suggestions, please do send them to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We are doing the cookbook next month after the first week, right?
Yes, at some point we will. So this weekend, I'm just going to work out the details of the cookbook so that I can send this out and I can take a poll from everyone about how many people want to participate. But anyway, we will have a cookbook session, even if you are not participating. So at least everyone knows what to do. But sometime during this month, we will have that.
Okay.
Right? Okay, I haven't decided yet.
Ma'am, can I show the pigeon letter?
Yes, pigeon letter. Oh, so cute. That's adorable. So cute. Very nice.
So Aditi, there's a, they print these kind of aerograms where you can write and fold and send them. I will share the link on WhatsApp. You should see how they have priced each of those envelopes, which we
Yeah.
can.
Oh, send me. I'd love to see. There was something like that. What was it about the envelopes? So I can't remember now. You only sent it, Varsha. There's some group of people who does this.
Postcards, you mean to say?
Postcards, no? Was it
Yeah,
postcards?
that is post crossing. Yeah.
Yeah, that was also very nice.
Yes. So now Susan is also part of it.
Oh yeah? How
Then
nice.
me and
Lovely.
Susan. Yeah.
Very good.
great fun.
Superb. Chalo, at some point I'll also have the
I
time.
also do
These
postcards.
things I feel I miss out on.
Yeah,
all-
Yeah,
Ritika also, yeah.
Ritika too. Ritika also postcards a
Ritika.
lot. I always get a postcard. Wherever Ritika goes, I get a postcard. It's really nice.
How nice. Lovely. All right, so I'll see you next Saturday, everyone. Bye.
Bye, ma'am.
Thanks,
Thank you.
bye-bye.
But I think everyone's getting calls.